really, really do appreciate you. On behalf of the Hangout crew, we say thank you. Thank you, God surround me. Thank you. You're all just a wonderful bunch of people. God bless you. God bless you. Okay, I'm going to invite our guest barista because I know he has loads and loads and loads that he's going to share with us today. Oh my word. Yes, let's invite him in. Yes. Remember, you have to give him that warm Hangout Cafe welcome. Loads of hugs. Show him that you love him. Hey, welcome, welcome.
Hello, this is Adi
How are
Abel.
you?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm doing great.
Oh, thank you so, so much. Let me just adjust. Okay. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Yeah, it's better.
No, thank you for
Wow.
inviting me. Thank you for
We
inviting
have
me.
Muyiwa Olarewaju here with us. Hangout Cafe, folks. Can you show him, welcome him, show him loads and loads of love, give him hugs. You know our usual virtual. We always give hugs here. So welcome, loads and loads of hugs. We really, really appreciate you being here today. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be with you.
Oh, well, ladies, I'm not sure if there's anyone that doesn't know him or know about him. But for the sake of those that don't know, our guest barrister today is someone who has been inspiring music across Africa, Europe, all over the world for well over a decade. I'm sure probably almost close to 2 decades now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He is a British gospel singer, songwriter, experienced performer, broadcaster, presenter. I could go on and on. He's the station director at Premier Gospel. He has his own late night show. He's also, I think he also run Turning Point. But guess what? He was recently awarded an OBE. I know I sound. But you know, he's and this is the first of many things. So he was the first ever with his band River Song, right?
Riverside.
Was it
Yeah.
River Song? Yes, the first ever international act to perform at America's BET, right? They were the first gospel artist to sell out at O2 in London first, and then the first gospel artist to be awarded an OBE, and the first gospel artist of African descent to be awarded an OBE. That's a big deal. It's a very, 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 very big deal. Yes, the man with many firsts. That's what someone said. Man with very first. We really, really, wait. I mean, for all of us that are, those of us that know you and those that don't know you, you've done us proud. So
Thank you. Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
But that's not, I mean, it's a big deal. But why I got you to come today was because you're a role model to a lot of people. And unfortunately, in our community today, especially the Black community, we don't have a lot of Black role models. But before we get you to start sharing your story, I'll just tell people about how I think I met you over 15 years ago. Probably more than that. But I remember that I got close to you and your beautiful wife, Lola, when we went for the RCCG convention, I think. Can you remember?
Was that in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, yes.
Good Lord. Oh gosh, yeah, that was
That was many, many
wow.
years ago. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that was your first time of going there to the RCCG convention.
That was my first time. That was my first time. And that was one of yeah, that was her first time in many years of going to Nigeria. So it was a bit of a shock to her system, the whole experience, you know. She was a bit of a shock to her systems. Okay, it makes sense now. Her she has such a soft spot for you. It makes a lot of sense. The emotional uh, detachment she has, it makes a lot more sense now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you know, when I remember this morning and I thought, oh, I wonder if they made her wear a scarf when she went to the camp that during that
Oh
period.
yes, they did.
They did.
Oh yes, they did. Oh
Because I
yes,
couldn't
they did.
remember.
Oh yes, they did.
Wow.
And the other shocking thing for her was she couldn't deal with, here we are pampered in these cars being treated as guests, and then she will be driving along, and then there'll be people. She wanted to give something to everyone who came to the window in the streets, and she
Right.
was just, yeah, she was constant. Why is this, why is this, why is this? Then by the end of the trip she said to me, I don't think I can travel with you again.
Oh,
So it's helpful that she had, you know, people like yourselves that at least she saw familiar faces, that she felt,
yeah.
okay, I'm not I'm not too strange in this land, you know.
No, I remember it was a fun time. It was good times. And then, okay, so that was many, many, many years ago. And then how I got Muyiwa to come was on my birthday. He called me to wish me happy birthday. And I think that was the same day it came out that you had been awarded the OBE. And after
Right.
he wished me happy birthday, I said thank you. And then I said, oh, once you're here, can I ask if you would love to come and hang out cafe? And it was as simple as that. He was so gracious. And he said, yeah, why not? So that's how we're here today.
No, thank you. Oh, by the way, I have to offer you an apology. I know you're done with all this, but I'm still in the streets of music lessons. So my youngest son is having music lessons downstairs. So you may hear, and I'm the only one at home. So
All
uh,
right.
he's pushed me into a corner, but you could still hear every now and then the bing, blong, bling. You know, so that's just so you know what it is. You
That's fine. No, that's fine. No problem at all.
know.
Okay, so let's get down to the business. Like I was saying, we don't have a lot of role models. And reading about you, you've been through a lot, but you've been able to come through. So, Muyiwa, tell us about your journey to where you are now. You were born many, many years ago. Actually, your birthday is this month, if I remember,
Yeah,
51,
my birthday is in a couple of weeks' time.
a couple of weeks.
Um, yeah, it's a couple of weeks' time, and uh, it's a big one. But I'm not going to say the number. You can go online and search it out. It's a big.
Oh, it's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I've been told. I mean, my wife and my sister's been asking me for a whole year. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And of course now they all know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be social distancing. That's what I'm going to be doing. But for me, the journey's been, it's been quite long, and like many people, full of ups and downs. You know, for a lot of us, we always feel our downs are more than other people. But you know, when you get to hear people's story, you hear that, you know, they've gone through just as much as you have. But mine, an abridged version, I grew up in a stable family, middle class family. My mother was a radio broadcaster. My father was an academician. They retired to become farmers. This is in Nigeria. I was the first son of four kids. I have two older sisters.
Okay.
My two sisters was incredibly bright, and so is my younger brother actually. And so my two sisters, one went to university at the age of 15, one went to Tunbridge Wells at the age of 16,
Wow.
um, and then I came along, and in my culture, the first son is the ding dong, you know, the
Yes.
right hand of strength, you know, and
Yes.
I was doing okay in school, as expected by, you know, most Nigerian standards, an A-star student. And something just happened, and I became the dullard of the family, and it was totally unacceptable. So, you know, my parents, the pressure they felt, and you would understand the pressure if you've had children. So they were, you know, running helter skelter. What's wrong with this boy? And they hit a particular moment where a prophet told them my spirit had left the country and gone back to London. So, and it
That's
sounds
what the
ridiculous.
prophet told them.
That's what the prophet told them.
Oh,
And, you know, it sounds ridiculous now, but actually, there's still a lot of I can speak intelligently of the Nigerian community,
yeah.
the African community. There's still a lot of that goes on, which, you know, when people are desperate, they would, you know, anything makes sense, you know.
Wow.
So my parents, who were very educated people, uh, my sisters were already back in London. They were like, okay, his spirit has gone back to London, right? Put him on the plane back to London, and that was the beginning of a nightmare, because
Wow.
I came back here, I think at the age of 9 or 10, no parental guidance. I was pushed from pillar to post, from one uncle to another,
Right.
and I was always surplus to people's requirements, and on all this also with what was going on with me mentally or psychologically,
Yeah.
which now we recognize to being, I was on the spectrum, and so my learning style was different from other people, and then I was going through what boys go through. You know,
Yeah.
boys. Now we know, you know, boys are a little dreamy for a while,
Yeah.
whereas girls are on it real fast. You know, so all that was what I was grappling with, and I came here, and you know, one of the moments I remember clearly was the age of 12. I'd been kicked out by another uncle. Well, I wasn't kicked out, you know, it just, the man just didn't have the capacity anymore in his economy or his emotional bank to deal with another child. Okay. So he said, you have to leave. And I'm a 12-year-old, you know, where do I go? And my sisters, they too were still fairly young. They were somewhere in East London. But he needed me to leave immediately. Now, I wasn't one of these kids that would fight, or I was very compliant, always very compliant. And usually people would say that that's why I'm such a ruffian now, because I'm living out my childhood problems. But age of 12, Borough High Street, I remember it clear as day. I'm walking on Borough High Street. All my belongings are in one plastic bag.
Wow.
And the bag split. My clothes were on the floor, and I started to cry. I'm 12 years old. I started to cry. And you know, as Londoners, everyone just carried on walking. And I was crying. Was I scared? I was scared. I was just distraught. And went through all that, and much more. And
So where
I
did
know,
you go when you left?
well, eventually I ended up with my sister in East London. Okay. And yeah, because it was Elephant and Castlewood lived, and I hadn't been able to reach her, and I didn't know where she was.
Okay.
And you know, all this really, anyone listening critically will be asking the question. So hold on, where were your parents? Who were your guardians? Well, my guardian was the one that just put me on the street.
Kicked you out.
you know, and so those are just some of the. I mean, there's so much more like that I could point out, that really it should have railroaded me to a different path. Actually, there's one of my very good. He's like a cousin, you know, very close, who we all grew up together. He ended up in prison for murder, and just this week, we were able to connect again. He'll be out soon, and he was infinitely brighter than I was, much more socially connected than I was, and all that. But he ended up, and so I was a good candidate for that treadmill, and other things. But thank God for His mercy and His grace.
Sorry to interrupt, but
that's right.
I know we can easily say thank God, but what was the difference? What made the difference? Why did you turn out like your cousin?
So a couple of things. I think the first thing, now that I'm a parent, I look back and I thank God for my parents, because we now know with child development that the core of the child is really established in the first 7 to 8 years.
Yes.
Whilst we also understand neuroplasticity and the fact that the brain is always growing, but in terms
Yes.
of the core of the child, by the age of 7 or 8, it's already there. And I think by the time I came back here, even though I was still a child and still being molded, something my parents, the grounding my parents put in us was strong enough to
Right.
to hold me together. And then I mean, prior to that, I'd gone to it was always private schools we went to. I remember one of the things that made that Borough High Street moment painful for me was I remember clearly being in school and being told, you are the leader, you guys are the leaders for tomorrow. Walk tall, speak clearly, and all these things. So I was on Borough High Street thinking,
Was this in Nigeria? School in
yeah,
Nigeria?
this was school in Nigeria. This was
Nigeria.
before I came back here.
Okay.
So and my experience of school in Nigeria was great. I felt like, yeah, I was on top of the world. And so I think both the input of my parents and that stood me in good stead. But then when I got here and it hit the fan, one of the saving graces of my life was the church, because I grew up in the Anglican tradition. But when I came here, I stumbled into Pentecostalism. So I went to a church called the Apostolic Church. And I remember going in there as a 13-year-old. I just went. I went there because there was a chap who had known me. He was an older chap. He'd known me when I was known my family when I was in Nigeria.
Yes.
And we had bumped into each other at Oval, because I lived just by Oval cricket ground.
Okay.
And he was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "Now, 13-year-old, I got on a massive afro on my head. I got, holes in my trousers and my shoes." And he says, "Listen, I got a place where there are loads of girls." I followed him. I don't know what on earth I was thinking about, because I certainly was not a good candidate for any self-respecting girl, let alone I was a child. So, but this was, when you talk about mentors and role models, so I follow this guy, and he takes me to the Apostolic Church, and the warmth and the welcome of the people in the church. It was culturally relevant to me because there were loads of Africans there.
Okay.
It was in terms of demographic, it was relevant to me because there were young people there who looked, well, they didn't quite look like me. They were better groomed, you see. And so they welcomed me. They made me feel at home. And that's where I met some of my lifelong friends. And that was the key intervention, really, that I'm not sure what would have happened if I hadn't fallen into the hands of the church at that point.
And that was the turning point.
It was one of the big turning points. It was one of the big points, because that affected then my worldview. It shaped my worldview. It shaped my education. It shaped my sense of belonging. Shaped my view on my thinking on hope. It helped me to dream. It helped me to see that there was a future for me. And actually, that environment spurned some of the great leaders we have in this country. My then youth pastor was Les Isaacs, the founder of Street Pastors and Ascension Trust. Then the like an older brother to me, this guy, he saw me the first time I come to church. Someone said someone took the mickey out of how I looked. And I was about to rush him and knock them down. And this wasn't how I was brought up. Okay. But there was, I'd grown, anger and rage had grown inside of me. I was going to fight. And this gentleman saw me. He knew what was going to happen. He picked me up with one hand and carried me into the church. And his name is Reverend David Shoshire, who's one of the leading names. You know, so there's people like him. There's people like Bishop Michael Royal, who's one of the leaders of the Cinema Network. People like that. Oh, we were all in the same environment, and they became a huge impact on me. So the impact and importance of positive role models, I can't overstate it. It's because how can you be what you can't see? You know, and they even though where they are now is not where they were then, but still the picture that they showed me showed that my brokenness wasn't the definition of me, that it was just a process, and my future would be better. That's what they told me. They reminded me of what I was told as a younger child, that you are a leader for tomorrow, and walk so, talk so, behave so, you know. So it was a big, whilst there were many turning points, that one was a big junction in my journey.
Okay, so talking about role models and mentors, because I'm big on mentors. So what is the challenge that we have now with the youth in the nation?
I think one of the big challenges, I know you say you say the lack of mentors. I think I may disagree slightly. I think it's the visibility. I think the system doesn't often allow us to see who they are, because popular culture is so dominant, and affects what we see and how we see. For example, that church that I stumbled into, there were people in there who nobody knows their names, but they were powerful in terms of helping me reshape my view and reconstruct my broken mind. And I think just in our churches alone, I mean, I'm very familiar with Jesus House because of my relationship for many years, and I can count at least 10 names who are significant role models in that place, just that place. Now, the problem is, because there's no visibility past our local assembly, they're not regarded as significant. So now, because Her Majesty the Queen says, okay, for your work done in the music industry, Muyiwa, I'll award you an OBE. Because of that, Sky News, BBC News, everyone is jumping to speak to me. And then some people become aware of my journey, and they say, oh, he's a good role model. Now, it wasn't that I wasn't there before, it's just the visibility. So I think a big problem, and this is why a conversation like this, and so thank God for social platforms that's defranchised a whole lot of things. Thank God for a moment like this where you give the opportunity for conversation on your platform, so that a constituency who may not know become aware of other role models. So my thing, I think to answer the question, I think it's a problem of visibility. I think there are enough role models. It's visibility, because the storytellers, more often than not, tell a story that's not in congruence with our total reality, because those who have the power to tell the story tell a story of a certain type of black man, of a certain type of a Nigerian man, of a certain type of African man, of certain type of Christian man, that you and I know that actually that's not the totality of our story. And so if we don't have the power to tell the story, well, whoever tells the story and it's on Netflix, that's the reality. But thank God that God is allowing the community is allowing the opportunity for more storytellers to come along to say, no, actually, we're not all in the same way. A certain constituency are not all child molesters. We're not all armed robbers. We're not all knife carriers. We're not all fraudsters. We're not all bad leaders.
Oh. Okay. So talking about visibility, is there anything that the these positive role models can do on their own? Is there anything they can do to become, apart from, okay, I know hopefully we'll have the platform, various platforms like this and other platforms, but is there anything, can they be more intentional about going out there in the community? What do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. For me, I think sometimes the challenge we have is we are looking for, and this is rife not just in our community. It's the get rich quick, get famous quick culture, where what more often than not, what you're looking for is the big platform. It's the big,
Yeah.
so I mean, I laugh because I remember some conversations just in my head just now, and you will be party to this. How many times have you had people call your husband or come to you to give you a CD to give to your husband so
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
get on the stage of
Yeah.
Festival of Life? Now,
Yeah.
these same people, they haven't done their own, I mean, do small churches, reach out to the people around you, but we want to go for the big thing
Yeah.
first. So I would rather jump on this, and this is our thinking. I'd rather, let me just get that 5 minutes on Geo's stage, on Daddy Geo's stage. That will solve all my problems. I would rather have 5 minutes on BBC World.
Yes.
I would than, I mean, what am I doing talking to some youth club, some small kid in the youth club? And so I think with everyone who has a positive story to tell, start with your world, which may just be a circle of 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't try and rush to the feet of Sadiq Khan, because it's not just, if you change your world,
Yeah.
I change my world, and my world could just be 5 people, my world could just be 3 people, your world could be 10 people. The world becomes a better place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think we fall foul of the and if allow me to borrow from my Christian worldview, we fall foul from the spirit of the time and the world, because we want to be insta famous.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we want to be, even as role models, we want to be instantly the next Stephen Covey. We want to be instantly the next Tony Robbins. We want to be the next John Maxwell.
Yeah.
We just want to be it right now. And so first, let's deal with our own motivations, and then just focus on just your world, the young people around you, that you have access to daily. What's the point of talking to the nation if the kids you have access to daily, you're not talking to them? You're a fraud.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So you're gonna get me
No, please
ranting
go on.
now. Let me control
No, go on,
myself.
but it's so true, though. It's so true.
I
It's so
can
true.
feel my toes tingling.
Please go on.
So I really think the first step for us is if we can deal with it on the local level,
Yeah.
and not just when we say local level, not just local to Brent, local to me. I mean, for me, to be able to affect. I mean, I'm intentional about the young people, my nephews, Lola's sister's sons.
Yeah.
When those boys come here, they're young. I forget that they're very younger than mine. My youngest is 10 now, so maybe they're like 6 and 4 or 7 and 4. When they come here, I sit them down. I sit all the boys down, 12, 10, 6, 4. I sit them down. We have a discussion. I ask them questions. Say, right. So we talk about, we explore worldviews. We explore the ideas around friendship. We explore the ideas around around wealth and money and the place of it. We explore the idea around being, what is a real man. Though they're boys, but they are men in there, and it's fascinating what you hear these kids say, and I do it because I know then this is my house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave it to some person outside for them to. Now, if once things get hard, then we have to get in community,
Yeah.
where I can bring in Uncle so and so or cousin so and so to mold them. But right now, you know, when we finished talking, the last time we finished talking, the youngest one says, no, he's the older one, Fifoluwa. He says, Uncle Muyiwa, you're the best uncle in the world.
Wow.
And I felt 200 feet tall. Because, and that for me, that's where it starts.
Yes.
Where we positively impact on. It's not when they've done something wrong at school. Now we start running helter skelter. Yeah. No, let's start building the blocks now. And so we don't have to bring in intervention later. Yeah. And imagine if I'm doing that in my house, the next door neighbor's doing that in their house.
Yes.
When the kids come over, their thinking is already shaped that, listen, we are great men, and we expected to behave a certain way, and not just to behave right, but that I have a duty of care to you, to treat you a certain way. Just and all those things, just before we get to the idea of commerce or to the idea of money, because typically we rush the idea, okay, we need to teach them trading and teach them this. But actually, the wealth that we have in our community is not so much the pound sterling, it's us.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not your work that speak for you, it's people that speak for you.
Yeah.
You know, so there's an old professor of mine. He's the founder of Rock School. Rock School is the biggest school for music outside in the world right now. He's the biggest one. And I remember talking to him about schools when the boys were still younger, because I was exploring all sorts, Eton, St. Paul's. You know, he went to St. Paul's, and he was saying to me, but why would you want the boys to go to this kind of school, and we'll thrash it through? And I remember he said to me once, he said, the boys really don't have to go to Harrow or any of these. And I said to him, I said, why'd you say that? He said, well, because it's hard, it's difficult, da, da, da. So I said, okay, let me ask you, when you took over your mum's schools, because his mother owns the oldest school in Kew, or used to, until it was bought by a hedge fund recently. I said to him, when you took over that school and you quadrupled its economy and you revamped it, where did you get the money from? He said, a bank. I said, I bet my bottom dollar that the bank that you went to, the manager or the people at the top, you went to school with them. He said, yeah, it's funny you say that. I said, okay. So I said to him, you know what? It's who you know and who you're in community with and who speaks for you, not how good your business argument was. And he said, well, you have a point. At that point, he said, you know what? I think you got a good idea. Let the boys go where they want to go. So my point being that we focus on the things sometimes when let's focus on the people and not just the people outside. Focus on your immediate network. And because we have similar values, similar ethics, whether with the Bible, whether with the community, when we see each other, we connect. Yeah. Because people connect with same people they have the same values with. And that makes us a network. And so we can, I'm going to stop rambling. Sorry.
Do you know what? That thing you said about the school is so true, because I remember when my son was going to go to secondary school, there's another school that had accepted him. But one day the headmaster of his school, Edgegrove, actually called us and said that he thinks that your boy should go to Harrow, or I can't remember the other school. So like, why? He said, because the truth is, in this nation, it's who you know that matters. Honestly, he actually said, don't worry, I'll get you the form, you just go and apply, blah blah blah. And that was the difference. So wow. I really understand what you just said. It's so true. It's so true.
See, Ying Soy say you're not rambling. That's helpful, because I do have I have a problem being loquacious sometimes. Just
No, you're definitely not rambling. Definitely not rambling. And guys, if you've got questions for Muyiwa, please put it in the question box. He's willing to answer loads of questions. There's a question there. How do we get the mentors to start local at this crucial? I don't understand that. I think it's probably answered that. How do we get the mentors to start local at this crucial? I don't understand the question. But please, if you've got questions, please put them in the question box. And again, you know, when you were talking, I remember something that I was watching. I love Steve Harvey. I was watching one of his shows yesterday, actually. And at the end, I thought, you know, boys, I don't think boys have actually ever been taught how to date. A lot of times we say to the girls, oh, this is how you behave. But I don't think people actually call boys and say, you know, when you meet a lady, this is how you treat her. Very few people, I'm sure you're probably doing it now with your boys. But I think it's something that we also need to intentionally do with our children, not only boys, but girls, and just teach them how to speak to people, how to treat other people. There's so many things that we have to do. Instead
I
of
tell you,
leaving, yeah, go on.
and it's so true. And the reality is, and the sad reality is, living intentionally, not many of us do it. And this is one of the things. I mean, our churches get bashed for preaching certain messages, but actually, thank goodness for some of our churches where you're taught to live intentionally.
Yeah.
Because if you just go adrift, and it's made worse by the society we're in because of the pressures. The pressures of life mean everything is is urgent. The bills you have to pay are so urgent. You need to do those extra hours, which means you have less time to spend with the children. The pressure to be a certain type is so urgent that you go and get a job, which means you have less time with the children. When actually, if you stop and say, you know what, actually, I shouldn't work. I should stay at home. It means I may not to be able to buy the Louis Vuitton that the whole crew wants
Yeah.
or had, but I'm investing in what my mother introduced me at the early age to the idea that me and my sisters were houses she were building. And and which is one of the reasons why it was so painful that my father weren't around at this moment, because for me, whilst I understand some of the struggles and tension between the discussion around empire and these things, so when you're talking about office of British Empire, there's some tension there. I understand that, but at the same time, I wish they were around so they can see some of the fruits of their labor.
Yeah.
You know, and
Sorry, how old
me,
were they when you how old were you when they passed on?
I was 26 when my father passed away.
Okay.
And I was I think I was about 30 when my mother passed away.
Okay. Okay.
But both of them, my father, from the age of 9, I hadn't seen him.
So
And
you hadn't seen him when you came here at 9, and you didn't see him till
I didn't see him because they had gotten into that school of don't come home. There are people trying to kill you, trying to do you spiritually. That's why we had to extract you. And so at the age of 26, I thought, if this Jesus I serve can't keep me, I'm sorry. So the very month I planned to go back to Nigeria to see my father was when he was assassinated. So I never actually got to see him, you know. But you know, I lost my train of thought slightly. But
you're talking about your mom and the things she had instilled in you.
Yeah, I can't remember your question now. This is not supposed to happen.
What was the question? I was okay. Yes, I said about teaching boys how to date. That's how it started.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I think the living intentionally becomes a challenge for us because we allow the pressure of culture to dictate our lives. So we because of, I know so many people who are they're so pressurized to have the things that they're working themselves to death I mean, my wife has conversations with some people sometimes, because my wife is a stay-at-home mom. She, poor thing, when she got pregnant with our first, she stopped her acting career, and we decided, and we talked about it, that she would focus on bringing up the children. It was real difficult. I mean, still sometimes she would have a moment where she'll feel like maybe she's missing something, but then we will see the results with the kids, and she'll be like, you know what? But she will talk to some friends, some associates who would be lamenting to her about how unhappy they are that they're working and they can't spend time with the kids, etc., etc. But they don't want to give it up because of the car they want to buy or the holiday they want to have. And so we are missing the opportunity to input into our children because we are allowing our lives to be dictated by the things we see in other people. You don't know what the other person has gone through. You don't know whether their family had a trust fund for them. You don't know whether they maxed the credit card. All you know is they're wearing Balenciaga. And you think, I want one of those. And so you go and kill yourself to get it. And your children are suffering for attention. Then they go and look for attention with somebody else who happens to be a drug addict. And then they start on a journey of that. Then we rush to church. Please pray for them, be delivered. No, you pray for yourself and stop the treadmill, slow down and focus, and these are some of the things which I'm real passionate about. So with my boys, I mean, I try not to make comments about people because I've seen people who, when I was growing up, had a lot to say about other people's children. And I'm watching their kids now, I'm thinking, wow, what happened? So I've made up my mind. I'm going to try and focus on these boys. So I sit down with my sons, my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old, and I read with them, making friends and influencing people. We discussed the idea of what's friendship all about. Discuss the idea of, actually, when you meet people, it's not just all about you. Know the person's name and find out what they're interested in. And these are some of the things that begin to help shape a boy's mind to realize that when he gets into a relationship, I mean, we just today I went for a walk with them, and we had discussions about how you treat, when you see Aunt so and so, how do you talk to her? Why do you talk to her like that? But the one thing I noticed with these boys is they're watching all the time how I treat their mother. And I tell you a funny thing. In my house, we don't do arguments. We, our aggression is channeled different ways. So when you get in bed, everyone faces their own direction, but there are times when Lola and I will have a laugh, and we'll play out some Nollywood acts. Hey, you da 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 da. And I notice without fail, these boys will come down, and so many times it's happened, especially the second one. He will go and he will just stand in front of his mum, looking at me,
defending his mom.
And I'm looking, thinking, look at this tiny thing. I'm bigger than you, but he will stand straight in front of his mum, just looking at me.
Wow.
And the older one will come in and say, "Is everything okay?" So already they've learned that actually it's not the place of a man to be aggressive towards a woman.
Wow.
And so those are some of the things that they're learning as they're growing up. And for me, mentoring it has to be intentional.
It has to be. It's something that we all have to
Forgive me, I'm going to move while we're talking because it's telling me my battery is almost dying. So I need to plug in some power. Sorry, it's live broadcast, people.
It's okay.
So I'm with you.
I love, there was something I read one of your interviews, and you said the most important choice I made was to take responsibility for my own life and not to blame anyone or anything for my shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still stand by that statement?
Absolutely. absolutely. I was just having this conversation with my two members of my team yesterday at Premiere,
Okay.
and I was saying to them, first I encouraged them to read Stephen Covey's Seven Habits.
Oh,
So it's the
yes.
book that I read when I was like 16 or 17. Still love the book, and because it's so useful. And I was saying to them that, you know, for me, and this is an idea that's straight from Stephen Covey. So if you ever hear anyone use it, it's not theirs; it's from Stephen Covey. Um, the there is a gap between stimulus and response. I was quite crude with my analogy with them yesterday. I said, if I slapped you now, and you say, Muyiwa upset me, I said, I didn't upset you. You made a choice between me slapping you and how you were going to react. And it took them a minute to like, what do you mean? But you just slapped me. And I think when you get to it, you realize, people realize that it's true, because, you know, someone's upset you.
Yeah.
You're mad as a hatter at them. And then one of your good friends call, or someone that you want to impress calls. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're all smiles. You made a decision at that point that it was better for you to appear to be in a good mood than to be found. So that means you have control over it. Yeah. So for me, I made a choice. There were so many things I could blame. I could blame parents. I could blame environment. I mean, there was one point where economically things were so bad, and my sister had a boyfriend who was older. You know, he was a great looking guy. He was a suave guy. But I loved him. You know, and at one stage he came back into my life, and at that stage he was doing fraud.
Okay.
Now, he didn't come and say I'm doing fraud. He just said, I've got this thing I do. You know, all you have to do is take this credit card and go into this bank, and and now here I am. I'm in my early 20s, and I'm, as preachers will say, I'm broke, busted, and disgusted. And here is this person again. This speaks to the need for the right role models around you. Here's this person I looked up to, and he's about to show me this game where I could make money. Now, in my heart of hearts, I knew it wasn't right, but the reality I faced was that
I
needed some money.
Yeah,
and he was showing me a quick way. You know, thankfully, in the end, I didn't make the move. And I tell you another one, actually. Westminster University, I just finished my music degree. No, I was coming to the end of my music degree. Again, economically, things were just not what they were supposed to be, or what we'd been told they would be. Yeah. And I was on the train when one of my fellow students handed me this paper. It was an article, I think it was in a Telegraph or one of those, about male escorts. And he says, wow, look at that, read it. So I'm reading this, and I'm saying, wow, you could make money. And all I'm thinking about is making money, because the pain of poverty was biting me hard. Now, the thing that stopped me in my tracks, and you may laugh at this, I thought, imagine if you got a client and it's someone that knows your mom, you are dead. At that point, I thought, bad idea. Now, all this I'm telling you, Mrs. Adiaga, I am in church.
The volume's gone. Is it just me? Okay. I can't hear you.
Oh gosh, mum. It's Dad's phone.
Yeah,
it connected to here automatically.
Can't hear you anymore.
Disconnect it. Press phone. Press phone. Now.
If I cut him.
If he might be in the ball.
Yeah, we can't hear. Can you guys hear me? Because I can't. Oh, he's gone. Okay, he'll probably come back. Wow. Let me see if it's okay. It'll probably come. Okay. I could hear someone else's voice. It wasn't his voice. I wonder who hijacked. Someone said it's been hijacked. Okay. Can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't know what happened. We could hear someone else, but it wasn't your voice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Someone said it's been hijacked, but it definitely wasn't your voice.
It was MTN got on the line.
Oh gosh.
So I was saying that it was a thought of my mother that stopped me from making a bad decision, though I was in church already. And I think I had good reason to make all sorts of decisions. I have good reason to blame. I have loads to blame for why this didn't happen, why that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of a day, I realized that it's not only futile. And I could quote loads of books, I could quote loads of people, but at the end of a day, you would rather put your life in somebody else's hands. I mean, in God's hands, yes. And I'm not suggesting that I'm saying I'm in control of my own life. But, I think it's cowardly when all your problems is other people. It's cowardly. It's cowardly. I mean, yeah, I have a particular situation I'm dealing with at the moment where a gentleman made a decision by himself.
Yeah.
And he was hoping that other people will talk him out of it. And they didn't. And he's facing the consequences of it. And now he's flapping around saying to everyone, I was victimized. When you made the decision, Negro.
Your choice, yeah.
Yeah. So I live by that. I live by that, not only in my relationship, in my life, the way we are at home, the way our relationship is. If something is not right, that's not Lola's fault. I take responsibility for it because it's easy for me to sink in my feelings and say, yeah, well, but actually, there are two of us in this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But let me stop rambling for a second, because
no, you're not rambling. Why do you keep saying you're rambling? You're not.
I'm nervous. I talk too much.
No. Okay, we've got lots of questions. Let me see. What do you think the future of UK gospel is? That's one question.
Oh, that's easy. I think the future's bright. One of the fascinating things about this moment, as you know, everybody was doing a live because I guess everybody had something to say, which is one of the reasons I decided I wasn't going to do live. So the live broadcasts I was doing were few and far between, even now. And it's interesting because I had a discussion with Israel Houghton a couple of days ago, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, he didn't want to do any lives because everyone was doing it. And I said, isn't it funny how? But he said, but we have something to say. I'm like, yeah, you might say that, but you do. But anyhow, during this moment, I saw a lot of people doing lives, doing analysis of what's not right with UK gospel. I watch, and every single one of them, I'm sorry that I saw. There's probably only one person amongst them that was actually doing something of significance. Wait, no, that's a lie. Two people amongst the ones that I saw that's doing something that's of significance, and they were invited to be on the panels. One of them is Noel Robinson. For almost 30 years, Noel Robinson has been going the helm of it. Another one is a young man called Ayo Oyeride. They call him Ace. He is a musician, producer. So when you see BBC do the proms, the gospel proms, he was the one that brought the idea to life. Everybody else, they're either doing session music for some artist somewhere, or some another one that was of significance in some of these conversations I've seen is a young man called Matt Brown, the son of Nicky Brown. Most of the others, they haven't done niche. So you got people who it's like how how people who have never gone even to Sunday League, they know what Mourinho must do. They know exactly what Manchester United must do. People who have never even started a fellowship, they know what Aguiruku and Shalal Adiaga must do, because I mean this is how it must be. So for me, I think, to answer the question, I've gotten off my chest now. I feel better. To answer the question,
dying to say that.
UK gospel, the future of UK gospel is bright. I think it's bright because what are the elements that make any sector viable? If we're talking in business terms, it's supply, it's demand. The demand is that our churches are not looking for Drake's next hits. Our churches are not looking for Nicki Minaj's next hits. Now, one of the things I know people do a lot is they now start saying, well, but the church is small. Compared to, let me tell you, one of my old lecturers, Michael Riley, and you know, I have to be honest, I'm talking that at the back of my mind. I'm thinking, oh man, you're talking too much. You should let me say.
No, please go on. Look, everybody's been saying they enjoy me, they love this life. So please go on.
So one of my lecturers, thank you, by the way. One of my lecturers, his name is Michael Riley. Michael Riley was the founder of Reggae Philharmonic Orchestra. Michael Riley was the man that produced Return of the Mac and other big hits. Michael Riley saw me years ago at Waterloo Station. He says, what are you up to, young man? He's my lecturer. And I said, oh, I'm working on a record. Now, the record I was working on is the record where I have, what's his name? Kevin Bond, the Grammy Award-winning producer, doing stuff. Hey, Lonnie, do you want to say hello real quick? I'm on a live broadcast.
Come and say hello. Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. What's your name?
The name's Lonnie.
Noni?
Oluwaloni Chibo, is it?
Oh, Oluwaloni. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't
see.
You're live.
Goodbye.
Carry on.
You told me to carry on. Okay.
You have his permission. Carry on.
I mean, so Michael Riley says to me, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm working on this record. Now, the record I was working on, Kevin Bond, Grammy Award winner. I mean, the record was number 5 in the world music charts. But you know what Michael Riley says to me? He says, you know, you gospel guys, you know, no one's paying attention because you do it in a small corner. And I understand what he was saying, because comparatively, gospel is a small genre.
Okay.
But I don't do gospel because I'm trying to make a hit song or I'm trying to make some money.
Yeah.
If I want to make money with music, and I will go and do pop music.
Yeah.
And so when people talk about the success of gospel, sometimes they're talking commercial success, which is why you would see some gospel artists, they would rather go to BBC One Extra than to Premier Radio. Now, the argument they would put is, this is reaching the audience I want to reach, those who are not saved. And there are some people who are like that. But actually, for a lot of them, it's about the numbers. Oh, that's a bigger platform, you know. So for me, one of the reasons I say the future of gospel is bright is Jesus is still saving people.
Yes.
You might say the church is dying, But I believe in a Bible that says that God is coming for his bride, which means the church will continue to grow one way or another. The music for the saints will continue, I think, is still needed. Now, you can now define gospel in different ways, because you could go everything from Governor B to Tasha Cobbs to Gabriel Eziashi. It's all different sides to Lima Blaze. But there is demand for it, and there is supply. In the crudest form. So the future is
bright for gospel music. Okay, let's take another question. What has been your biggest achievement to date, and why?
Ooh, my biggest achievement to date, and why? My biggest achievement to date will probably be, for me, a home where there's shalom, and two sons.
And that is so important.
Yeah. And two, because you can have all the money, and if there's no shalom in your house, the money just evaporates away. You can have all the fame at some stage, that's evaporated by the upheaval in your home. We see we just saw it with Carl Lentz. And for whatever people want to say about, blame him, whatever, he was a renowned, famous pastor, but the upheaval in his home. My brother Israel Houghton, the same thing. We're just talking. Now he's this is a man that's traveled the world. His thing was to be on stages, play to hundreds of thousands of people. Where now, having done that and gone through brokenness, he's now like, you know what? I'm just grateful that I'm in a peaceful house, that my heart is faithful to God and faithful to my wife. So for me, my biggest achievement, I think, is having a home that's peaceful, where there's can I totally say there's nothing broken, nothing missing. We're not perfect, but being able to have two sons who look at me and look at Lola and say they're proud of us.
Wow.
To have a 9-year-old during the lockdown, where we don't have church meetings, no crusades, no power nights, who comes up to me and says, Daddy, I want to talk in that holy language that you and Mummy talking. Like, what are you talking about? We discover he's talking about speaking in tongues. To have two sons that I can sit down with and talk to them about the Holy Spirit, about the friendship of and the purpose of the Holy Spirit, and they want to experience him, and for us to, as a family, go through that journey of introducing the children to Holy Spirit, and them receiving the Holy Spirit with evidence of speaking in tongues, without anyone playing music, without any let's build this up. For me, that's success. That's my, so far, my biggest success. But I appreciate the fact that for 5 months our album was #1 in the jazz and blues charts. I appreciate that I have the opportunity to do a TV show that 70 million people watch daily. I appreciate the fact that, every year over 10 million people call after I prayed on that show. They call the phone line to give their lives to Christ. That's massive. But for me, what use is it if after all that, in my own house, I walk in and my wife slaps me on the head with a pot? My children call me all sorts of names, and I can't effectively be positive influence in my own form, which it takes us back to what we were saying earlier on about mentors, where we're busy looking for the big stage, when actually start in your world. Your world together. the world is taken. So my biggest success, I would say, is a home that's peaceful. And those are my reasons.
Whoa. And that's, oh, wow. I wish a lot of people would listen to this, because that is so true. No, it's true. Because for a lot of people, it's I mean, I'm so, you don't know how happy I am that you didn't say, oh, it was something that, something to do with your music or that. Of course, we know that those are big achievements, but the first thing you said was a home that's peaceful and your children.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I say it to people all the time. They ask me, oh, how are you able to do so much? When you do this, you do that. I say to them, if it wasn't for Sister Lola, we're not going anywhere.
Yes.
Which plane are you going to get on?
Yes.
If she now says, sorry, I've got to do my hair and you can't go nowhere, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, I mean, this is one of the reasons why some of the things, and unfortunately, and people might be shocked at this, there are games that people play even in ministry, music ministry or preaching ministry, and things they feel they must do to keep up appearances. And thankfully, because my focus was slightly different, I decided early I wasn't going to get involved in those things, because I could have gotten involved in so much more. That would mean I was constantly in the public eye in certain stages and doing certain things and being seen with certain projects. It's so easy. I mean, and my friend Israel did that for many years, and he said to me in our conversation, he said, we were talking about a particular ministry and a particular project, which, I mean, the people the world over are killing themselves to get onto it. And Israel said to me, he said, I'm over it. He said, it means nothing anymore. I'm over it. But this is a stage people are still, they would kill. I have seen people lie
to get on it,
to get the attention of the people to get onto that stage. What for? You know, but for them, so for me, I mean, it has cost some things in some ways, but I would rather, oh God, I would rather be able to sit. Now, I'm not saying I'm the perfect husband, because the problems we have in this house usually come from me. You know, they come from my village, and my head just goes.
Your village people are still.
They're still, you know, God help us. Thank God, Pastor Matthew's from my village, so we can usually go to him for some prayer. but you know, I would rather have a home where there's no acrimony, because I know together we can do something. You know, together we can break some stuff down. But to be out there and come back, the money you make, you're gonna spend it doing divorce. So what's the point?
Divorce or therapy,
bad something. Therapy. God forbid bad something. And then you pass that on to the children.
Yes.
Who then have psychological issues.
Yeah.
And it just becomes self-perpetuating. And then let me stop, because I'll just keep going.
Okay, let's take another question. Okay, you mentioned your son's Igbo name. Are they part Igbo?
So this is an interesting one. I on my maternal side in my family is Igbo, and I gave the boys Igbo names because the Yoruba side is just so loud, it drowns everything out. And a significant part of my journey and my life is that Igbo side. So I made sure the boys had Igbo names, so the story was never forgotten. Because if it wasn't for the Igbo side of the family, I think I may have been lost in the vicissitudes of life. But that side came to rescue in a very strong way. And so I made up my mind years ago, because just by nature, the Yoruba side is just so dominant.
Yes.
And yeah, just, you know, so I'm like...
We're very loud. Oh my goodness. Yes. Can you can you start a big brother mentoring thing like they have in the US, or does one exist there already?
Yeah, there are mentoring schemes that exist. Again, it goes back to what I was saying in terms of visibility. Um, so there is uh, there's one that I actually sent my sons to,
Okay.
which is in East London, and of course everyone is in lockdown now, so you won't have access to it. Which specifically dealt with Black boys, um, and specifically dealt with uh, uh, mentoring them and helping them with their confidence and addressing some of the issues they might face in the world. So there are quite a number of things that go on, and that there are. I mean, a lot is suffering now because of what we have in terms of lockdown.
Yeah.
But there's so many, and you would find, interesting enough, you'd find that a lot of our churches have
Yeah.
these schemes in them, but it's
Yeah.
just the visibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So maybe that's a project for us to work on, where we have a platform where we just, you know, we put together all the different projects for mentoring, whether it's for Black boys, whether it's for Christian boys, whether it's for just people generally of a certain vista, just so that we know that it's here in one place.
Something to look at. Hmm. Okay. Another question, that something that just crossed my mind. You know, with Black Lives Matter and all of that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a conversation with your boys
Oh
about
yeah.
being Black and all of that, and the things
Oh
that
yeah.
they may encounter? Okay. What did you say to them?
Even before Black Lives Matter, we'd had that conversation.
Okay.
Let me tell you, when the conversation first started,
Yeah.
they were much younger. I had taken them to a park. Now, I live maybe about 10 minutes from where Stephen Lawrence fell.
Okay.
And so I am in the car with my two sons, and we're talking, you know, maybe 6 years ago. So Lonnie, the oldest one, was only 6 years old.
Okay.
Um, and we finished in the park. I'm about to drive off. I'm trying to maneuver the car to turn in the road, and there's another car coming at least 500 yards away,
Okay.
and he's coming real fast. Now, of course, if you're 500 yards away, you can see the person's trying to turn in the road.
Yeah.
And he comes, and then he gets closer to me, and he pulls up. Get out of the effing road, you effing nigga, effing. Now he's railing at me.
Yeah.
There were children in his car.
Wow.
And it was so disturbing to me. I thought, first of all, wow, the people who killed Stephen Lawrence, they're still in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is where I'm been bringing up my children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, so I had to explain to my son what that was all about,
Mm-hmm.
and explain to him that there will be some people who would have not so good things to say about him because of his color, but it's that the problem is not him. The problem is they need education.
Mm-hmm.
Then I gave him a little bit of a history lesson about our family and where we were coming from,
Right.
and the fact that actually who his granddad was, who us as Africans are.
Okay.
And I told him, we have problems, but we are not our problems. So that conversation started very early, and it goes on now with the boys. Yeah, it goes on now. But what we do, Lola and I, is we let them know some of the realities of the environment they're in, but also some of the realities of their own history and their own family. And we keep them exposed to role models that look like them.
Yeah.
A great deal, because then they realize that actually yeah, I'm not the negative story some people might say, you know.
That or they see on the news sometimes
Yeah.
about black boys. Have you ever, as a person, well, I'm sure you have, but can you think of or tell us about any significant racism that you experienced?
Let me tell you, Mrs. Atiaga, my only experience of knife crime in my life was because of racism.
Oh, okay.
I was maybe 12 years old. We had a next door neighbor. This is I think the second or third uncle that I lived with whilst I was in this country. Next door neighbor. So I'd be playing with my next door neighbor's children or child.
Yeah.
One of them, who was about my age, I remember saying to her once, "Oh, can you be my friend?" And honestly, I had no inclination of a girlfriend. I didn't know what that was. I wasn't coming from that sort of environment.
Okay. So it just
Oh,
meant
can you just
friend,
be
as
my...
in.
Yeah. Not many hours later, her brother, who was then 18, and the cousin, who was, however, older, they were much older than me, turned up in front of my house where I was standing with knives in their hands and threatened me and said, if I ever effing speak to their sister again, now they're my next door neighbors. If I ever effing speak to their sister again, they would cut me this way, that way, that. I was frightened. I was traumatized by it. Of course, I said yes, and I never spoke to her again. That was age 12, maybe 2 years ago. And now, I mean, if just, there's so many I could tell you. But let me tell you one from 2 years ago, two occasions. First occasion, I'm driving down Old Kent Road. I'm coming from Premier Radio.
Yeah.
Driving down Old Kent Road. A car comes from behind me, right, to overtake. And honestly, I didn't accelerate or try to outrun him. I just kept going. He crashes into the side of me. Right? Now, it sounds ridiculous, but this is what happened. Crashes into the side of me.
Yeah.
And I stopped the car. So I'm pinned in. I call the police. Oh. Because he comes out of the car and he's railing abuse. This middle-aged white man. Railing abuse, you effing black this, black that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. If I come out, it's the big black guy that's the problem. Yeah. So I called the police. When the policeman arrived, now, don't forget, the car is pinned me in on the driver's side. So to get out of the car, I have to climb over the driver's side to the passenger side. But I stayed in the car because I didn't want any problems. When the policeman came, there is a white guy shouting abuse outside. I'm sitting in my car saying nothing. He comes to my car, to my side of the window. I who called the police saying, "Get out the car, mate." Whoa. I'm like, "Officer, you realize it was me that called you? Get out the car now." Whoa. Okay. So I said, "Officer, would you kindly tell him to move his car so I can exit the car?" Wow. And so when all this happened, I said, this is all way before George Floyd. Wow. Check my Facebook, you'll find it there. I turned on my Facebook camera. Wow. So he's now going, and I said to him, "Officer," I said, "I'm getting very uncomfortable with your tone and your approach because I called you and your tone and your approach is suggesting that I'm the aggressor." So he's now saying, "No, well, it seems like you're." I said, "Well, I'll leave that for you to judge because you're the police officer here." But I was distressed that the assumption when he came, and that happened twice. Because there's another occasion, again on Old Kent Road, further up. I'm coming over the flyover, and I see a man on a bike. He's riding his bike to my left. and there is no, he's running, but he's in front of me. To my left is a BMW racing.
Okay.
And I'm looking, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is about to end badly. And of course, within time, the BMW, it hits the man on the bike. The man goes flying. I scream, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I pulled my handbrake. I instinctively jumped out of the car. I ran over. And by now, people have now gathered. And that was the time where I realized how morbid people are, because people just gathered to watch.
Yeah.
Like, what are you watching? The man's life is ebbing away and you're watching. So I told a guy, a white guy, I said, please call the ambulance immediately. As I'm doing that, I'm telling people, please step back, give him some air. Someone's trying to move him. I said, don't move him, please. Let's wait till the ambulance comes. And not long after that, police arrived, armed police, who I guess they were in the area, they arrived. And some white guy came down and he said to the policeman, he said, yes, it was him, pointing at me.
What?
He did it. Yeah, he said, he did it. I saw him from my window.
Wow.
And you know, immediately the policeman shunted me to the side. Wow. And said, mate, what happened? And I said, officer, I think you'd find that the people that hit the two guys that hit him, now they're shaking. They're standing there shaking. I said, they're over there. I'm just trying to help. And you know, this guy wouldn't hear me. He kept on pressing until the white guy who I told to call the police or call the ambulance came along and say, officer, it wasn't him, it was these guys. Wow. And at that point, I thought to myself, now, in future, if I see this happen again, do I stop?
You wouldn't want to.
For the danger of being accused as being the culprit, when I was just trying to help, you know. So, and I could go on and on. I mean, let me tell you one more. Forgive me. I know we're not out of time. So Premier Radio, we recently, this is all before the lockdown, Premier Radio hires out the studios to a film crew from the BBC to come on film. Okay. They come. Now, I told my team before, the management team, I said, listen, when film crews come, they're like an army. They lock down the scene. You can't, but we are live radio studios, so you need to let them know before they come that we are live radio. We need the flexibility to be able to work. And everyone said, yeah. They didn't listen. When the film crew did, what did they do? They locked down the place. So now even the head of news couldn't get in the studio to read the news. Yeah. So a couple of times I had to read them the right act that, listen, guys, you can't do this. Yeah. And I think that must have rubbed some people up the wrong way, because on that crew, the only black person on the crew was a young runner who's the bottom of the pile. And so I remember at one point, maybe like 5 hours into their day, the guy came out. He wasn't one of the producers, probably one of the production hands, but, you know, he came out, he had his walkie-talkie, and he says to me, oh, you remind me of someone. Now, when he said that, he said, you remind me of someone from the BBC. So now the egotistical side of me thought, yeah, I mean, I only did 5 seasons on Songs of Praise. I mean, you must have seen me on Songs of Praise. The humble side of me thought, yeah, he must mistake me for Kamala Dumont because I'm big and black, I wear glasses. Yeah. Then the guy says, oh, yes, I know now, he says, remember when there was a guy that came into the newsroom and he was brought in by mistake? He'd come for a job as a cleaner, but they put him on air by mistake. You remind me of him. Wow. Now, if you remember that episode, it was well publicized. If you remember the episode, the brother that they brought on, he is a fair-skinned black man, had hair on his head. His face was more like, you know, your shaped face rather than my over. But some kind of way, this guy says, I remind him of the cleaner who missed his way on the BBC. And so it gets worse. So I said to him, yes, actually, I'm the cleaner here. Now, the office manager is standing next to me, and she's trying to say, and I'm waving to her saying, don't say anything. I said, I'm the cleaner here.
Yeah.
He said, he turned around and said to his crew, he said, oh, I thought so. I told you lot.
Wow.
So I just carried on walking, went back to my desk.
Oh, goodness.
And for some people, that's, you know, that's not a thing. But the fact that when he looked at me, all he could see was a cleaner
Yeah.
who had missed his way in an environment where it was me that had the space to them.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I could tell you more stories, but I wouldn't incite
That's so
anyone to.
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
It is, and that's the reality of the experience we have. And let me tell you the saddest part of it. It's, I mean, the microaggressions and so they're so much more pronounced in a Christian environment.
Really?
That's the reality. I could tell you stories of stuff that's happened with some of our choirs. And when I say our choirs, I mean Jesus House Choir, experiences that they had that only maybe a few of them. And I remember Amotoye, your niece, right? Amotoye, we sang together for many years. And because of some of the experience, I would coach them and say, listen, guys, this is how we deal with this. And they used to say to me, oh, come on. There's one particular case study. They'll be like, come on. You know, 3 years later, after she experienced it with your choir, Jesus House Choir, she called me and she says, oh my goodness, what you've said was so true. They experienced it in Technicolor. There's one of the great church leaders of this country who they had invited me to their event. And for unfortunately for a lot of us, when we were invited to outside of our community, we see it as great validation because, oh my goodness, I've just been invited to an all-white church. And we see it as great validation, as though a black church is less valuable. But that's a different discussion for a different time. And so I was backstage and ready to go on to, they had me sing and speak. And I said to this gentleman, I said, here is, I gave him one of my CDs. He looked at my hand, looked at me. He said, give it to her. It's that her sort of thing.
Who was this? Not a black person or so. Wow.
I mean, and I could mention names, but I don't think it will help anything.
No.
You know, we'll just go straight down, Daily Star newspaper angle if we did that. But the reality is, in church, it's more pronounced, which is why we need mentors. We need people who look like us, who can tell us that actually you are of value. Actually, you are great. Actually, you're not the narrative they speak of you. You know.
Wow.
Oh, Mrs. Adeaga, you got me talking.
Thank you so much. Wow. This has actually been amazing. Wow. Let me see. I think that's it. All the other questions, you've probably answered them one way or the other. Wow, but thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're such an inspiration. You are really an inspiration.
That's very kind.
No, you are. It's true.
Forgive me, man. Someone called Izzy Okoje said, you said your father was assassinated. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And it was because my father was a Muslim, became a Christian. My mother led him to Christ. His name was Kayode Karim Olarewaju. But he was hard into missions. So he was aiding ministries like Bishop Dahosa's ministry, Bishop Walioke's ministry, and his particular adeptness was being able to, where a church had difficulty with properties, with land, he had the adeptness to be able to come in and solve those problems. And he did for a number of ministries, and there was one ministry he did it for where certain Muslims came to him. The Imam actually came to him and said, listen, if you don't stop, we will kill you, and we will wipe your name away from the face of the earth. And my father continued, and they did as they promised they would. And what's incredible for me is they promised to wipe his name away from the face of the earth, and yet his name Olarewaju has been heard all over the earth right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a abridged version of the story, Izzy Okoji. Hopefully that makes sense.
What's how you always introduce yourself? Is it on how do you introduce that?
Oluwalumule Adebayo Olarewaju Shalom Chinjogunwola.
Please say it again one more time.
Oluwalumule Adebayo Olarewaju Ishola Ọmọ Chinjogunwola Ọmọ bí ọ̀rẹ́ kò lè jẹun, and all the rest of it.
Okay, one last question I'm going to ask you. Why
Yes,
do you always wear the scarf, the neck scarf?
There are layers to it. One layer is, for me, it's my I'm an African statement. Another layer of it, it's symbolic for me of the final moment I had with my father, where before I got in the car to travel back to this country. I remember clear as day, as a 9-year-old, him look, and he felt like a giant to me then, looked down at me, and he gave these words to me. First Psalm 27, they said to me, remember whose son you are. You are not just another boy. And for me, what he gave me is symbolic of this, and that's why I captured that in the Koile video when I did the video, and you can find it on YouTube if you want, because when you watch the video, you will see me tell that story of that time with my father clearly. So it's those things. It's a statement I make all the time. I mean, I've had people say to me, these are people who are significant in my life, who said to me, when you go to the investiture to get your OBE, don't wear a scarf, you must wear a bowler hat. And I'm like, nah, that's exactly when I'm gonna wear my scarf. So that's some of the story behind it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We must all make sure we watch that YouTube video, because I want to hear the full story. But
please do. So
guys, thank you. Let's give him a warm, well, not just warm appreciation. Let's tell him how much. I know I've been seeing loads of people saying this has been good, inspiring, blah blah blah, and it really has been. And everybody has been saying that mentoring thing for young boys. So, Uncle Muyiwa,
yes, but
something has to happen with this. Seriously. No, but I will actually get in touch with you offline, because I'm into mentoring. I don't know if you know that. I run the mentoring scheme at Jesus House. I have a mentoring association where we actually train mentors too. So I will get in touch with you offline, and let's see what we can, because it's something that I believe is so important. And every single one of us should be in a mentoring relationship at any point in time. Anyway.
Absolutely. So, yeah. But please, let me say thank you to all your followers. Thank you for affording me the time, because it's a big thing to give such a chunk of time. I mean, I've noticed the numbers have been just high all the time as you've been talking. So thank you. And
we should say thank you for giving us your time. We know you're a very busy man, so we really do appreciate it.
Even the unemployed say they're busy in London. But thank you. I'm on all social platforms: YouTube,